Hey YouTube, this is a quick video on how to check a transformer for your outside lighting. This one happens to be a Malibu and just has this little door or whatever, set different times, on off switch and stuff like that. Essentially it just stopped working and I didn't know what was wrong. Literally last summer I replaced all the wiring for the outside lighting and also most of all the lights, switched them over to LED, except for one. It's still LED, but the light was fine. So all of a sudden it just wasn't working anymore. First thing you should check, they're usually plugged in outside, obviously. Check your GFI outside, push it, make sure it's not tripped, whatever. That did happen to me also. I had to replace that outlet out there. And then, I don't know, a month later, it was, not working again. And I could see that thing wasn't tripped, the GFI outside. So the last thing that could be possibly wrong, hopefully, was a transformer. So easy way to check it. I don't know if you can focus that far or whatever, but right in here it says output. So input's 120, which is standard inside your house outlet. Output is 12 volts, 200 watts max. So this whole thing does 200 watts max. You should get 12 volts out of it. Standard multimeter. I'm just going to turn it on, make sure it's on volts. AC, DC. AC is alternating current. DC is direct current, like a battery. So anytime you see DC, you know that you're dealing with a battery. And AC is alternating current, everything that you have in your house, outlets, things like that. So right now, a quick way, I don't know if you can read this, if it's going to zoom. Basically, it's getting 0.011, and it's going to fluctuate. So quick way to check your multimeter is just plug it in. I know you're not going to be able to see this down here, but I am plugging it into an outlet that's at my island. And you can see that this red light came on. Hold on. Just got to make sure that you're on it right. Hold on. I'm just trying to show you that it's going to give me 120 volts. Which it doesn't seem to want to right now. It was out in my garage. It should work, no problem, but it might be a little cold. Let's try it again. There we go, 120. I don't know if you can see that. My head might be in the way. There it is. So that's how you want to check your multimeter. So now what we're going to do is, again, you should only be getting 12 volts out of this. So I'm plugging it in. You don't want to touch your fingers on here, obviously. Another thing to always make sure that you remember to do when you're going to test this, and again, it's easier to just bring it in your house, is on these you have like on-off switches. Right now it's in the off position. So if I was to test those, I'd get nothing. You have dusk, dawn, and all that stuff. You can see that there is power clearly also. And on this, I have this thing that opens, closes. I can go around you can see that I'm getting power, and it's showing about 0.122. So not even giving me like 120 volts or anything that I should be getting from the outlet, right? But you can see that there's power there, because you'll get this little light up here letting you know there is power traveling through, so you don't electrocute yourself or whatever. So I'm going to turn this to on and just shut the box so I can flip it over. Don't stick your fingers on there. It should only be 12 volts anyway, like a battery issue or whatever. So now we're going to take the multimeter, stick it here again. I don't know if you can see it. It's 0.05. And I'm just going to touch it to these two leads here, and you should get 12 volt. And we're getting still 0.0121, nothing that we need to be getting. You can put them on the screws if you think that's going to work better. Still nothing. So essentially that's telling you this is junk and it's just not working. So then if you go, what I did is this one, bought a new one, did the same test, and I got 12 volt right at the back. I made sure it was on and the whole thing like I showed you here. and I was getting 12 volt. Now, you could probably have somebody fix this, whatever. Can't remember what I paid, somewhere between $40 and $70, if I remember. Anyway, you can see you're not getting anything here. So it's just totally junk. Again, it was getting enough power to turn it on, just this unit, so you could see that it was, you know, lit up here, but it doesn't put out enough power anymore. And again, you should be getting 12 volts out of this from the back. And with the new one, I did, and everything worked fine. So just to recap, again, this transformer goes to all my outside lighting, and I had replaced everything last summer. Everything should have been working fine, and it was. And then all of a sudden it stopped working. Turned out to be the GFI. So you're gonna wanna check your GFIs, make sure those are working properly. And then the last thing that I felt that it could be, because if you watch my other video, or if you want to, it's on there. If you subscribe, you probably see it. Essentially, I couldn't figure out why none of my lights were working. I did run a test on this and it showed that it was fine. So I couldn't figure it out. And I had to test each and every individual light, and they were all fine. I think I described on there how to test those lights as well. Tedious process. And then the last thing that was left was the wire. And I'm like, how could the wire be screwed up? Well, I had buried all my wire under rocks that go around my house, except for one area. There was one area where the wire was exposed, and it goes behind. I have granite steps to go in the front of the house, and I had to run the wire behind that, and then it gets back into the gravel again. Some sort of rodents, gerbils, chipmunks, squirrels, I don't know what it was, and just chewed the wire to heck. I couldn't believe it, but I got so aggravated because I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Finally, I just yanked everything out, and I knew I was going to have to bury everything all over again. It was going to be a pain. And when I pulled the section from behind the stairs, it was just all chewed up, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Anyway, yep, so they'll chew through it. Well, now what I did is I ran like, you know, that stainless pipe, it's not stainless, corrugated pipe that you would do for like basement wiring or something like that if you didn't have finished basement or whatever. I ran the wire behind the stairs through a pipe that reaches the whole length, and then the gravel still goes. So if they get behind the stairs, which they will, they can't chew on that wire anymore. They're going to be chewing through a pipe. So that was my fix for that. So I knew it had to be this. So I brought it in the house again, tested it, wasn't getting 12 volts at all, not really getting 1 volt out of it. And so I knew it was this, went and bought the new one, tested it, make sure I wasn't crazy, gave me the 12 volts, good to go. One other thing, this goes up to 200 watts. So make sure you get whatever yours is, that amount or more. Don't go less, because then your light's not going to work right. So mine was already operating on 200. I ended up getting a 250. I couldn't find a 200. No big deal. The price isn't really that much different either. And it is not a Malibu. They didn't have one, so I just got whatever they had, and it's working perfectly fine. I actually like the other style better. The way the door opens is different, and the functions inside, there's more. Still essentially does the same, but I just like the new one better. So that's about all I got, YouTube. Also, the other thing, make sure when you plug it in, whatever, you do turn your power on. So as if the lights are going to come on, don't like set it for 6 p.m. or, you know, set it for just to turn on. Because there's also a thing on here. Let me plug it in. That might be on only the other one too. Yeah, so right here is test. So if you were outside, on would turn your lights on. Test also would turn your lights all on. So you can test it under either one of those modes, and I can show you, because now you might be curious. We're gonna get the same thing that we got, and we're not even gonna get, you know, a volt. We're getting 0.02, and it just keeps climbing down from there. So whether you have it on test or power, I just wanted to tell you that, because it does have a test mode on it, or at least this one does. So just safer, just turn it to on. And, you know, that would, if you're outside, turn all your lights on. They're not going to come on because the whole thing's not working and you're trying to figure out why. That's basically all I got, YouTube. Again, standard multimeter. This one's kind of nice. I don't remember how much I paid, but it's the Southwire 21030T. That's what this one is. Works great. I use it a lot. Again, I'm not an electrician or anything like that. I do my own wiring and stuff like that. I know how to do basic, simple things, but I'm not like into, diagram wiring. I have worked on furnaces. I'm pretty good with these things. Again, I'm not a professional with it. I usually have to watch YouTube videos to remind myself, or they all come with a book, and sometimes I'll read the stuff again just to refresh my memory on things. But like I said, standard multimeter, no big deal. That's the test. And if you're not getting 12 volt, this is the guy. This is the problem. And you're lucky, honestly, if that's the case, because you never want to have to deal what I did with all the wires. That was an absolute nightmare. So hopefully this is the problem for you, and then you'll be good to go. That's all I got, YouTube. If you want to rate, comment, subscribe, I usually get back to everybody as quick as I can. And if you have any questions, just hit me up on YouTube. Thanks, YouTube.